Hey everyone, happy Sunday to you. I hope all is well. I just got through grading your DBs and overall, great job. I left you all some individual feedback. There's a couple things that need to be tightened up. One, you need to pay attention to the due dates. Two is you have to follow all the instructions thoroughly, right? You need to reply to your peers. Your textbook needs to be your resource. Those kinds of things. But anyway, I left you some feedback on those things, but overall, great job, right? So let's talk about Jamal for a minute. And there's a lot going on with this case, right? And this is something that you will come across at some point, something very similar. And there's all kinds of concerns and issues, right? From the PEDs being given to, he may not be a minor, but a young person, right? The PEDs given by the coach, the overall ethics of that, and then creating a power dynamic, right? Like of coach and student, and he has some very real fears, right? And this is why it's important that we remain professional with our clients, because think about that in a counseling scenario where, look, there's lots of people that I work with that are solid people that I could probably hang out with, would love to hang out with, actually. They got a great personality. It's a good vibe. But I have to maintain that personal boundary or that professional boundary, because think about the power balance that creates. Well, then they want to, if they call in or don't show up or don't call in for 24 hours, I have a cancellation fee, right, that I charge, and it's steep. Well, there's that sense of friendship. They're going to be like, well, you'll overlook that for me. And if not, I get angry and it feels like you didn't help them. And you see how quickly that turns, very much like the coach and Jamal here. So it's very important to keep that in mind. It's kind of like a dual relationship there and somewhere. So that said, you guys nailed the ethics and illegalities pretty solidly. And, what do you do? Yeah, you have to talk about the CFR, I think that's what 42, the confidentiality, and that's a big deal, right? And you have to know, what are the limits of confidentiality? Is Texas a duty to warn state? That might not apply for duty to warn, but we are not a duty to warn state. Every state is very different, and it's up to you to know your state rules and regulations. That's why I put them in there, because they're super important that you know, right? The code of ethics, our rules and regulations are what govern our licenses. And that's why, they're just so important for situations like these. You may see 100 people without a scenario like this, but 101, there it is, and you need to know what to do about it, right? So what are the rules of confidentiality, right? What are the guidelines? I read something in the text today that said about STIs. That was very interesting. That doesn't really fall under us in Texas, I don't believe. It's abuse of any kind, elderly, handicapped, children, obviously. I include pets in that. All of this is in my informed consent, and it should be in yours. And if you work for a facility, it'll be in there as well. But if I'm subpoenaed by a judge, right? I also include insurance. I have a right to share information if they need to understand why they're paying for what they're paying for. So it's very, very important there. However, when it comes to something like Jamal's case, does it feel like the right thing to do is tell? Sure. And when I say tell somebody, hey, this is happening. But Andrew, you noted the number one thing we go by is clinicians, and that's, I always say this wrong. I say it non-maleficence. Some people say it non-malfeasance. I've heard it said both ways, but the meaning is the same, and that's do no harm. That is our number one goal as clinicians. I may not have the answers. I don't have to have the answers for starters, but I may not have the ideas of what to do. And side note, this is where supervision is important. Or even if you don't call it supervision, if you're already licensed, say, and you connect with colleagues and process things with colleagues. This is why this is important. But is do no harm. That is I do know how to do that. Do no harm. So is telling somebody about this going to put Jamal in a state of harm in some way? Maybe, yeah, absolutely. Right. And so I think all of you nailed it with how to handle it. And that's you support Jamal in his decisions. Remember, our jobs as clinicians is not to choose for our clients. It's to walk with them through their choices. Right. I left out one of the main things of breaking confidentiality, and that's threats of harm to self or others. Right. And so in my office, if someone comes in and they say, hey, I've got they have some suicidal ideation, some thoughts, I don't break confidentiality for that. I wonder if you guys I'm wondering out loud here, if you guys know what the deal breaker is there, what the difference in SI, and that doesn't have to be, it's not a deal breaker for confidentiality, and SI that is a deal breaker. That's going to be your bonus question this week. I know if you don't need the points, there's nowhere I can add them. I'm not going to save them. It's too much for me to keep up with. But I would encourage you all to do this. Email me. You have until, we'll say Wednesday night to email me, and then I won't accept them after that. But you should know this. You need to know this because this happens, right? If a client comes to see you, I don't care the setting, whether it's a facility, private practice, whatever. What is the determining factor in breaking confidentiality when it comes to suicidal ideation? I don't need a 3-paragraph long statement. You should be able to answer that in really one sentence. It's not complicated, right? But that's something you need to know. So I'm going to task you with that as a bonus for 5 points if you need it. If you don't, I'd still encourage you to do it and email me. That said, great job overall. This week you have your first quiz, which is over. It's not like 1300 where it's one chapter. This is over 3 chapters and the Blum article you have to read. So that's coming up. Let's see what's after that. Sorry, give me 1 second here. Week 4. We're already going to be at week 4. At the end of this week, it's already quarter of the way done, guys. Okay, and then next week, week 5, you just have to read chapter 4, Ideology of Substance Use. Then you have your next DB on assessment and diagnosis. Now you're getting into really what I would say the nitty gritty of the thing: assessment, diagnosis, treatment planning, treatment settings, individual treatment. Then your treatment plans due. Again, 250 points of your grade. Be looking ahead for that. Don't wait till the last minute. That's a significant piece of your grade. So guys, as always, I'm here to help you. If you need help running through the APA, understanding the course, we're a quarter of the way through the course at the end of this week, so you should probably understand the course and how it works. But anything you need, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I look forward to seeing how you do on the quizzes. And yeah, we'll talk soon, guys. Have a great week.